Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me in the back? Krista, can you hear me? Krista? Karen? Krista? Karen? Can you hear me back there? Okay, good. All right, we're going to get started. So for those of you that are going to be speaking, you're going to want to speak real loud to the mic because it sounds like there's a bit of an echo. At any rate, we've started the live stream as well. So for those of you that are going to be coming up, just be aware that people are watching you online. Okay. Oh, thank you, Nikki. So I'm going to get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. Before I begin, I wanted to mention that I don't usually use notes when I speak, but today's a bit different, and I wanted to make sure that I got through everything that I wanted to say and share with all of you. So just having it all written down is going to help me keep on track. And if I get too choked up, I've got Nikki here who's probably going to take over for me. So first off, I want to thank you all for being here today. And for those of you watching online on the live stream, thank you for joining us from wherever you are. It means a lot to see so many people gathered both in person and online to celebrate my mom. Now, over the next little while, you're going to hear from me, but also from a few other people who wanted to share their own stories and memories. My job is to kick things off and do my best to hold it together while I do. Now, as most of you probably already know, my mom and I were very close, probably because I was an only child, which meant she could focus all of her parental attention on me, and I do mean all. Now, just last weekend, I found my old kindergarten report card. Now, most parents would more likely throw it away or at best of times tuck it away as a keepsake. Not my mom. She had actually circled each of my grades and written notes in the margins about whether I had improved or slipped. This is kindergarten. So she was treating my education at such a young age like as if it was a university transcript. And that was my mom. She completely invested, totally focused, and always making sure I gave my best. Now, we spoke and texted constantly. In fact, the day she had passed, we'd been on the phone just a couple of hours earlier. It was a typical conversation for us, me poking fun at some of her little quirks, her teasing me back about mine, and as always, reminding me how much I'm just like my father. Now, from time to time, my mom would talk about her own mortality in a completely matter-of-fact kind of way. The rest of us would kind of squirm and try to change the subject, but she insisted it was important to talk about it, so we'd know where to find all the important paperwork and what her wishes were when the time came. It was actually a few months ago that she reminded us that she didn't want anything after she died. She didn't want a wake, no service, no funeral home, nothing. She'd say, "I don't want anyone looking at me after I've died." We told her that we understood that, but explained that traditions like this are really for the people that are left behind, to give them time and a place to grieve together. Eventually, she conceded, but said we could only have a party or a celebration of life. Little did we know that just months later, we'd be here doing exactly that. Now, because both of her parents lived into their 90s, we all assumed we'd have at least another 15 years together. And she was in relatively good health, happy, looking forward to trips and vacations this fall and winter. That's why her passing was such a shock. When my grandparents died, as hard as it was, there was some sense of relief in knowing their suffering was over. With Mom, it was different. There was no long illness, no warning. There was no sense of relief, just raw, deep pain. Understandably, it was at times like this when most of us will start to think about regrets, When I started thinking about mine, I realized I didn't have the typical ones. There were no lost time because of arguments, no wishing I'd said I love you, no wishing I'd hugged her more. We were lucky. We had a lot of quality time together. What I did come to realize was the only regret I had was my own selfishness and not wanting that time to end. Yeah. Sorry. Mom always said she didn't want to suffer from a long illness. She wanted to go quickly at home, and in that way, she got what she wanted. Once I came to terms with that, the regret faded, and what replaced it was gratitude and eventually a similar sense of relief I felt for my grandparents. Of course, that doesn't mean the grief was gone. My wife, Nikki, often reminds me grief is the price we pay for opening our hearts to love. And in some of the reading I'd been doing, I came across something else that resonated. Grief isn't something we overcome, it's something we learn to carry with us. It's not about figuring out how to move on, but rather learning how to move forward with it. To, in a sense, reinvent ourselves because mom wouldn't want us sinking into ourselves and giving up. A few days after she passed, I was having a really hard time. I decided to keep myself busy and wash some towels at my parents' place. While folding a dish towel, I noticed a little phrase stitched into it. As I folded it over, I saw the words, "Boo freaking who? Have a drink and get over it." I like to think that was my mom, even now, finding a way to make me laugh through the tears. Now, it's no big secret that our family strayed away from organized religion some time ago. Not that we don't believe in something greater than us. In fact, we're quite spiritual. And over these past few weeks, I've had several moments like the one with the towel, where I felt her presence, her guidance, and her love. Now, while putting together the slideshow for today, I had to go through thousands of photos from her early days before meeting my dad right up until she passed. And let me tell you, I saw things that I will never be able to unsee. Back when I was in university, my friends and I got into all kinds of trouble and funny situations, but the kind of debauchery I saw her and her friends up to in retirement kind of makes me look forward to my own retirement years. Though I sincerely hope my kids never have to see the evidence. Now, since she's always enjoyed telling stories, I know she'd want me to share a couple of her favorites she'd tell at my expense, over and over and over again. Whenever the topic of pregnancies or giving birth came up, she was quick to tell everyone the story of when she gave birth to me. She would finish her story with, "It felt like a really good poop." Which I think is why she never hesitated to call me "ya little shit" whenever I teased her. Now, and then there was this time I got escorted home by the police when I was 16. I just got my driver's license and borrowed my parents' car to go to a small gathering at a friend's house. My mom agreed, but with one very clear instruction: do not arrive past curfew. This was before cell phones, and I lost track of time by the time I realized I had minutes to get home, and I still had to drop my friend Adam off first. So yes, I was speeding, and of course, I got pulled over. That's when it hit me. I'd forgotten my driver's license at home. I tried to explain to the officer that I was in fact a licensed driver, but he said, "Well, we'll go see your mommy and daddy and see about that." I told him, "Officer, my friend just lives right around the corner. Can he just get out here?" He replied, "No, we're going to see your mommy and daddy, and then they can take him home." At that point, I turned to Adam and said, "I think he thinks we're kids out for a joyride." So now I was not only way past curfew, but coming home with a police escort the first time I'd borrowed the car. I was dead. When I got home, my mom was waiting at the door, looking furious and wearing her comical pajamas with a short green monster, giving the middle finger and the words, "If you don't like my attitude, dial 1-800-EAT-SHIT." She started right in. "Where the hell have you been? Do you know what time it is?" She was winding up for more, so I had to cut her off. Mom, there's a police officer here to see you." I remember the exact moment so well. There was this long pause, like her brain needed time to process what I just said. Her eyes widened and she said, "What did you do?" I said, "I got caught speeding and I forgot my license at home." At that moment, I stepped aside so she could see the officer, who at this point had taken a few steps back from the front stoop after hearing and seeing my mom. And I'll never forget his face. He looked at her, looked at me with a bit of fear on his face, and slowly backed away with his hands and said, "I see your mom has this under control, so I'm just gonna go." I'm pretty sure he realized that my mom's punishment was going to be far worse than anything he could dish out. Now, although I'll miss her voice, her advice, and her laughter, I'll carry her with me always. And I know she'd want us to keep living fully, loving deeply, and every now and then, pour a drink, laugh a little, and get over it. Now, as much as my mom loved to tell her own stories, she also loved hearing them from others. A few people have asked ahead of time if they could share today, and we're so glad that they did. We'll be hearing from some of my mom's closest friends and family. Once they've finished, if anyone else here feels inspired in the moment and would like to share a story, a memory, or even just a few words, please come and let me know. We'd love to include you before we wrap up this part of today's event. So, without further ado, I'll invite Stan up, please. Stan.
Always wanted to say this. Can you hear me now? All right. Good afternoon. And thank you to Terry's family for inviting us to the celebration of Terry's life. We deeply share in your grief and the grief that you're feeling. The news of Terry's sudden passing was a shock. It hit us hard. We were supposed to live and laugh together forever. But this celebration is exactly what Terry would have wanted. Not a solemn gathering, but a party just like this one. She'd want to see her family and friends together, talking, eating, raising a glass of wine, laughing and remembering. That's the Terry we knew and loved. Diane and I have known Bill and Terry for over 60 years. We met Terry when we were still in our early teens, if you can imagine that, and quickly became friends. We met Bill, the love of Terry's life, a few years later. From there, a lifelong friendship took root. Even though we'd moved and lived in different cities, our bond never wavered. Whether visiting in person or chatting on the phone, the conversation always picked up right where it left off. Whenever we visited Terry and Bill, we brought Terry some kielbasa from our Polish deli, and Terry would bring us vegetables from her garden. This is what us Polish folks do. We actually brought some kielbasa with us today in Terry's honor. We hope you enjoy a piece or two. We shared so many meals over the years, retelling the same stories, laughing just as hard every time. We still smile when we think of Terry's facial expressions if she didn't quite agree with you, followed by a quick topic change and an unmistakable grin. Terry was like a sister to Diane, and she was her maid of honor at our wedding. In looking back at wedding photos, we see a striking resemblance of Terry to a young Barbara Streisand, two beautiful and strong women. This past August the 12th, Diane and I celebrated our anniversary. True to form, a card from Terry and Bill arrived days before. Receiving the card gave us a jolt and a few tears. Bill had mailed the card that Terry had lovingly prepared earlier. That's who she was, thoughtful, considerate, and always remembering others. When you get a card from Bill and Terry, think of her. That was her way of saying, I remembered you. And we were always welcome into Chris and Nikki's home, where we got to spend time with them and their boys. Terry was endlessly proud of them. Her love for her family came through in every conversation, every email, and every photo that she shared. When we think of Terry, the first word that comes to mind is love. Her love of family, her love of her friends. If you were lucky enough to be in her circle, you felt that love through her stories, her laughter, and her charismatic personality. Thank you, Bill and Terry, for being our lifelong friends. You brought us joy and laughter. We will never forget the times we shared together. They are irreplaceable. Now, Terry was a dear friend to so many, and I do believe she is up there making even more friends, telling her stories, and lighting up another room. We are grateful, so grateful, to have been part of her life. Hugs and kisses.
Thank you, Stan, Diane. Tante Lynn?
I think. Okay. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you, Nikki. I'm about the same height as Terry, so we need a little more. Terry and I first met in high school back in 1964. And from that moment, we became inseparable. For 60 years, we walked through life side by side, double dating, laughter, filled evenings, and a bond that only grew stronger over the years. In 1971, when Terry married Bill, I had the incredible honor of being her maid of honor, and my husband, Dennis, was Bill's best man. It was a joyous occasion, and from that day forward, our bond as friends grew into something that I felt more like sisterhood. Throughout the 70s, our families grew. Terry and Bill had Chris, while my husband and I had two daughters, Jennifer and Stephanie. The conversations changed by baby talk, feeding, finding babysitters, and we quickly realized we weren't just friends anymore. We were sisters, linked by the journey of motherhood and shared experiences. Terry was full of grit, generous to the core, a little spitfire with a heart of gold. Whenever I needed her, she was there with Bill, of course. No questions, no conditions, just love and strength. I always knew she had my back, no matter what life threw at me. But one of the most special things about Terry was the way she made everybody feel important. Every year, without fail, she sent birthday cards to not only her friends, but to their children as well. She never missed a single birthday or anniversary. I will never forget the love and thoughtfulness she showed by preparing these cards ahead of time, ensuring that every special occasion was marked. Now, as I approach my birthday in September, I will hold on to the memory of her thoughtful cards with a bittersweet heart. Hi, doll. What's up? That's how she always answered the phone. I'll cherish those words forever, as they remind me of just how special she was, not only as a friend, but a person who knew how to make you feel loved every single day. I'm so grateful for the years of friendship Terry gave me. Now I carry her with me in memory, in love, and in every piece of life we shared. Rest easy, my sister, my forever friend. I love you, girl, till we meet again.
Up next is Carol. I'll fix it ahead of time for you. Carol.
Hello. I know everybody always hears me when Carol enters the room. Good afternoon, family and friends. My name is Carol Reynolds, and I'm honored to stand here before you today as one of Terry's longest and dearest friends. I'm here on behalf of three very special groups of people who have loved Terry, who have been so deeply touched by the lives of both Terry and Billy. First, I'm representing the federal government, where Terry and I met in the mid-70s, and where our lifelong friendship began. It's heartwarming to see a few familiar faces here today, and from our days at Indian and Northern Affairs. Terry and I spent our entire careers in that department. We often reminisced about those times, the laughter, the friendships, the incredible people we worked with, and how many of those relationships have lasted to this day. Second, I'm speaking on behalf of my family, my husband Brad, our daughters Corinne and Andrea, and their families. Corinne lives in Ottawa with her 3 children, and Andrea lives in Baltimore with her spouse and their 2 children. I mention them because each one of them fondly called her Aunt Terry, a title she not only adored, but truly earned. Over the years, Terry and Billy often joined us for family dinners, holidays, and many special events. It became a cherished tradition, one we fully intend to continue. You're not off the hook yet, Billy. My daughter Haley, along with her brothers, will speak shortly to share just how much Terry meant to the next generation of our family. And lastly, I'm honored to represent our beloved North Myrtle Beach group, lovingly known as WAWA. Together, you don't want to know what it stands for. How about Weight Watchers and Alcoholics Anonymous? at last. Oh, together we shared many joyful winters in South Carolina until COVID brought that chapter to a pause. At its peak, Wawa included over 38 incredible friends from Canada and the US. We bonded over golfing, weekly trivia nights, Friday night soirees, special events, and our love of the beach. It's incredibly touching to see some of you here today, and I know many more are watching with us on YouTube. Terry was a bright light in our lives, whether as a colleague, a cherished friend, a beloved Aunt Terry, or a treasured member of our Myrtle Beach family. She brought joy, laughter, compassion, and warmth wherever she went. Her presence left a lasting imprint on everyone she met. While we will miss her dearly, we are so grateful for the time we had, the memories we created, and the love she gave so freely. Terry's spirit lives on in our stories, our friendships, and in the traditions we carry forward. Now I'd like to invite, sorry, Haley, I'll invite you in a minute. My granddaughter Haley and her brothers to share a few words about what Aunt Terry meant to them and how deeply she was loved by all 5 of our grandchildren. Terry, my best friend, my partner in crime, fondly called my little pit bull, until we meet again, I will always love you. I've been asked by Wayne and Nora Ann from Kamloops, BC, who are part of the Myrtle Beach Wawa group, to express their condolences. Wayne and I are sorry we cannot be with you this afternoon. Having friendship for so many years with Terry for so many years has been an honor. We shared so many wonderful occasions with Terry and our Myrtle Beach group. Love, laughter, meals, afternoons on the beach. Terry was also most generous with our Ottawa group, great chats and appetizers around their island in the kitchen at their home. Terry always remembered family and friends with love, care, and special joy. We will hold these memories close to our hearts forever. Our hearts are with Bill, Chris, Nikki, Grayson, Mackenzie, and friends this afternoon. Signed, Wayne and Nora Ann McKibben. Thank you. My little grandchildren, my little babies.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Haley. I'm Carol's oldest granddaughter. Beside me is my older brother, Ethan, and my younger brother, Zachary, as well as I'll be speaking on behalf of my 2 cousins, Nick and Olivia, who unfortunately could not be with us today. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Standing before you is one of the hardest things we've ever had to do because it means saying goodbye to someone who meant so much to my cousins, my brother, and I. She has been part of our life since the day we were born, and she adopted the name Aunt Terry. She possessed a quiet strength, a loud laugh, and a heart that was touched everyone who was blessed of knowing her. She wasn't perfect, but none of us are. Whether it was her stubbornness or how she always made sure we were pushed to our goals, and we will miss her in every moment and the little ones. We will also miss the way she used to tell her grandma, Carol Reynolds, that she would celebrate us on birthdays and Christmas until the day she died, and she lived by that. We will miss the comfort of knowing that she would be at our next family function. We will always be incredibly grateful that Aunt Terry was a part of our life. She reminded us that family isn't about blood, it's about love, loyalty, and showing up for others. Aunt Terry had a way of seeing the bright side of every situation, no matter how tough things got. She was a fighter through and through. She had a strength that left a mark on everyone she knew. Each time we were with her, she brought a sense of joy and resilience that lifted us all. We carry so many cherishing memories with her, but one that stood out to us is the moment that my brothers, cousins, and I each grew past her. The way she looked at us with the mix of mocking surprise and pride, then she told us we all need to stop growing up, was purely her. That moment will always make us smile, and I know it always will. Terry was small in stature, but her persistence in our lives was unmeasurable. We will miss her deeply, but we will always be thankful for the love, laughter, lessons she gave us. But as hard as it is to live without her, we remind ourselves every day how lucky we were to be loved by her. It doesn't disappear when she's gone, it just echoes. in the memories, in the laughs, in the stories we tell, and how she shaped who we are today. Aunt Terry has taught us so much about kindness, about patience, and about what it means to be there for truly there for someone. She made us better. So even though our hearts are heavy today, we want to honor Aunt Terry not only with tears, but with gratitude for the time we had with her, for the love we shared, and the way she'll always live on with us. Rest peacefully, Aunt Terry. We will carry you with us always.
Up next is Karen. Karen? Oh, she's at the back. All the way.
Thank you. I need my glasses. Okay, I brought moral support in case I can't finish this. I met Terry over 35 years ago. We met through Bill's cousin, Gloria. Gloria and I have been friends since grade school. I would occasionally see Terry over the years, but it wasn't until I can't do it.
You sure?
I can.
You sure?
Yes.
I'll get my
Okay.
glasses on. Where are we here?
Okay.
When Grayson was about 3 years old, Wade and Jack were around 7 and 9, and we started playing tourists with the grandkids, seeing and doing things.
Oh.
Sorry. We started playing tourists with the grandkids, seeing and doing things tourists did in around Ottawa. Max, Izzy, and Haley joined the fun when they got old enough. On one of our first tours, we also lost Grayson in the tall grass at Upper Canada Village. We always had a good time together. As many of you know, Terry didn't like being in or on the water. We had planned a double-decker bus ride and an Ottawa River boat cruise. Terry came prepared with a thermos of wine, a little liquid courage. She did not want to disappoint Grayson. A couple of years later, we cruised on the St. Lawrence Seaway to Bolt Castle. Terry would do anything for her grandsons. Later, we began to go to movies together and dinner with Marg, Ed, Ted, Bill, Earl, and I. We each had turns picking movie. Terry loved fantasy and action movies. Terry was very organized. She would buy birthday and anniversary cards at the beginning of the year. They would be addressed, lined up on the buffet in the dining room, ready to be mailed out throughout the year. Terry's organization and generosity was showcased in her Christmas get-togethers. There was always lots of food, drinks, sweet goodies laid out and presented perfectly. I miss Terry so much, and we miss Terry so much, but I'm also angry that she left us. Terry, you and I were going to be the two little old ladies in the nursing home, having our grandkids snuggle with us.
Smuggle wine.
Oh, smuggle wine to us, sorry. Smuggle wine with us and snuggle as well. I hope everyone, everywhere, I hope wherever you are, and they have lots of ice for your wine.
I was going to say we were going to be the two little oldest ladies. I couldn't say that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Geez, get it together, Chris. Jesus. Okay. So next on the list is my friend Adam. He couldn't be here today, but he did want to say something, so he's prepared something. So I'm just going to read directly what he wrote. I've known and loved Terry since I was 10. Chris and I met in grade 5 and became fast friends. It wasn't long before I was hanging out at his house every other weekend for sleepovers. Having spent that much time with them, it was only natural that I began to feel like I was part of the family. And considering 40 years of love, affection, and concern from and for the parents of someone who I call my brother, I think of Terry and Bill as my second parents. After starting a family of my own and not seeing them as much, they were always in our hearts and thoughts. Mostly thanks to the fact that Terry never missed a year sending us an anniversary card. That meant the world to us, and it also meant that every year I'd get to pause and reflect on how important they are to me. For as long as I can remember, I've considered Terry as my second mom, but it's one specific story from one eventual night in Chris and my teenage years that always comes to mind when I think about her, because it so perfectly encapsulates what she means to me. I know Chris has shared this story, so I'll try to spare the details. Late night out, speeding home to make curfew, getting pulled over, going 80 in a 50-kilometer zone. I didn't tell that part of the story. And getting a police escort home. What was surely his long walk from the driveway to the front door, her opening the door to Chris with a police officer behind him, the "what did you do?" and the famous pajamas. I didn't see much of this as I was at the end of the front of the walkway, likely cowering behind the police officer. I distinctly remember her sternly saying, or maybe yelling maybe, "Chris, go to your room. Adam, go wait in the car." It was definitely an awkward drive home. I deservingly got my comeuppance. Typical questions any parent would want answers to in that situation, and as parent myself would have every right to. Why were we out so late? How could we be so irresponsible, et cetera, et cetera. But when she pulled into my driveway,
But when she pulled into my driveway, and as I was exiting the car, from behind me, I hear the words, "I love you." It's funny when I think how terrified I was that night about how much trouble we were in. But now it's become one of those favorite memories of her. You know, I don't even think she told my mom about the whole ordeal to this day. I don't even know if my mom knows this story. Well, she does now. Hi, Katrina. I know I wouldn't have told her back then, but Terry didn't really have to. As my second mom, she had all parental duties covered that night. I most definitely stepped out of that car feeling disciplined, but more than anything, I stepped out of that car feeling loved. And she had more than enough love to go around for all her second sons, Vince, Spence, Chris Dodge in high school. I say Dodge because, Chris. And Phil and Cam as our brotherhood grew in university. She opened her heart and her home to all of us, made us feel welcome, kept us in check, kept us in line, and above all, made us feel loved. And we love her in return. There is a void now that she is no longer here, and I really miss her. But I take comfort in the memories she's left me with. I mean, those pajamas. That's a lifetime's worth of happy memories.
so Nikki's up next.
So prepared now, very ready. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nikki, and I am lucky enough to be married to Chris, which means I was even luckier to have Terry as a mother-in-law. She became such an important part of my life, and I'd like to share a little of that with you today. Terry was so much more than my husband's mom to me. She was truly part of my family. She was never a stereotypical mother-in-law. From the very beginning, she welcomed me with love, generosity, and kindness. Terry had a way of making people feel seen and valued, whether it was through her warm smile, her loud laugh, Her thoughtful advice, attending your play, your rock concert, football or hockey games, coming to a Pampered Chef party, or volunteering at your brand new food prep store. She also had an incredible eye for details. She noticed things that others might have missed. After I first met her, she told Chris, "That girl likes you." And he quickly replied, "No, Mom, she's just one of the guys." But she knew better because she could see something that he didn't. And it took 4 years, but eventually she was able to say, "I told you so." She had a gift for making my family a part of her family. My parents, Betty and Frank, vacationed with Bill and Terry without us. During the pandemic, they began a standing FaceTime call together, also without us. What's remarkable is that these calls didn't end what the pandemic did. They continued every single week. Some of you had your own daily, weekly, monthly calls or gatherings with her because staying connected mattered to her. She had 2 grandchildren, but in several ways, she adopted so many more. We heard from some a while ago. She thought of my siblings' children as her extended grandchildren when it came to shopping for Christmas and birthday gifts. And that kind of thoughtfulness wasn't just occasional, it was who she was. Nothing lit her heart more than Grayson and Mackenzie. She adored my boys. When she went grocery shopping, she'd always pick out treats that they would like. She even had assigned cubbies for them so that whenever they visited, there were snacks waiting that she knew that they loved. She never needed to entice them to visit, though they loved spending time with her. She told them stories, gave advice, sometimes tough love, but most of all, she always listened with love. What I admired most was the devotion that she carried for her family. She was dedicated to Bill, to Chris, Grayson, Mackenzie, and to me. Her love will always be felt in our traditions and our laughter and the memories that we continue to share and make. I feel like there are so many stories that I could share with you. The time I accused her of giving my dog something that he vomited all over my kitchen floor. It was watery but oily. Like, what? The many times she would look at Bill and tell me, "That's what you have to look forward to." To which I responded, "I would be lucky." And she knew that I was right. The time when a baby Grayson came home with a stuffed Elmo. "Terry, what?" "What?" He touched it and looked at me. The time when she started texting. She discovered texting, and after every text, she would write LOL. And I'm like, laugh out loud. Why is she laughing at her own text message? Oh no, lots of love, lots of love. For me personally, I will remember Terry as a woman who, even though she wasn't my mother, always made me feel like her daughter. I will remember her as an integral part of why I have the life that I do. She and Bill both did their part in raising a boy who became a man who was unafraid to see women as equals. He is funny and kind, respectful and wonderfully loving. Tara, thank you. Thank you, and I miss you.
Up next is my dad.
Okay, that's going to be hard to beat, I think. But let's see what we can do. First, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today and for joining us online. Your presence means a lot to a lot. Terry and I met 58 years ago at a wedding. I admit I was surprised when she asked me for my phone number, but short while later, she called and asked me to come over to the house. She said she wanted to go out. So I says, well, I don't have any money. And she says, with a smile, she says, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. And at that moment, I felt like I was the luckiest guy in the world. Yeah. But luck is funny, is a funny thing. On the very first outing, we ran into another fellow she was supposed to be out with that night. She apparently told him she wasn't feeling well. And let's just say I didn't feel so lucky at that point. But it wasn't long before we were spending more and more time together. I found myself often at her parents' place, where even her father, Carl, took a liking to me. One time my car broke down while I was over there, and Carl actually lent me his car to go home. If you knew Carl, you'd know what a big deal that was. He didn't lend his car to anybody. Yeah. On our first Christmas together, I didn't have much money to buy anything, but she didn't mind. Instead, she bought me some clothes. And from then on, she more or less took over my wardrobe choices. So going forward, if you see me wearing something odd, you'll know why. Chris and I have spent a lot of time recently going through photo albums, and what strikes me most of all of how full and happy our life together was. Terry adored her grandchildren. She spoiled them, yes, but she also wasn't afraid to be firm. And together, we couldn't be prouder of our kids. All that they've achieved and all that they still working towards. As we move forward, I know the next generation's turn to carry on, and that's exactly what Terry would want. Now, many of you know I've never really been a touchy-feely kind of guy. I come from a generation where showing emotion wasn't common, but several years ago, I read a book called Tuesdays with Morrie, and there, a part of that resonated with me today. It talks how human touch is essential, how we need. My daughter-in-law has shown, oh my God. My daughter-in-law has shown my son and their kids that showing love is healthy and important. They're always teasing me for being so standoffish. But in these last few weeks, I've learned to embrace it. So don't be surprised if I start hugging you all more. Okay. Before I close, I want to thank Carol, Nikki, Elaine, Chris, and the kids for all their help in putting this day together, and everyone at Pineview Golf Club for their support. Now, I'd like to think that Terry would approve if we all raise a glass of whatever you have, preferably white wine on ice. Okay, so to Terry, a wife, a grandmother, a friend. She gave us more love than we can hold, and it lives on in each of us. Let's honor her by living with the same warmth and generosity. Cheers.
So thanks so much, everybody, for being so patient and listening to everybody's stories. Appreciate it. And please enjoy the food, enjoy the laughter and stories. And thank you all for coming here today. Thank you.